something a little bit crazy, given the fact that there is not a massive amount to play for. But now that we are into Champion Select, we'll be able to find out exactly where they're going. Morgana going to be the first ban here for the Afreeca Freecs. Jin probably going to go down the same line as Aatrox and Taliyah, but we might see the craziness start off here in the draft phase as Rakan is going to be the first one to be taken off the board. I'm
just desperate to see a damn Aatrox game in Korea.
I know.
We've had none of reworked Aatrox banned 100% of games since Rift Rivals, which is when the Aatrox rework went live. The standard blue side meta is to ban Morgana, Tahm Kench. 2 or 3 supports are very often banned on the blue side. We all know that Tucson will first pick Rakan, so that's actually going to be Jin further opting in, and this is the Taliyah and Aatrox chicken. It is risky to play both, and Afreeca Freecs say, how about we leave some of them OPs open?
Yeah, and we'll see whether it's once again against Jin if Keen does first pick the Aatrox.
Please, Jin, leave the Aatrox open.
Well, I think that they don't have much of a choice here because they have to trade. There is no way that you ban one of them. And,
Aatrox is pretty bonkers. We're leaving him open.
We got
Let's
6
go.
support bans
to
come in. All right, Keen, find that Aatrox button. There we go. Afreeca Freecs with the most OP to be locked in first. Had a few touches here and there. He's not going to be taking Smite and doing any jungling.
Now remember, Keen was banning Aatrox at Rift Rivals. He was clearly not prepared for new Aatrox. So who is the Aatrox player on this team? I could count 5.
Yep. Yeah.
I remember when Aatrox was reworked, I was speaking to Viper during the Rift Rivals break, and I was like, how's Lahen's Aatrox? He's like, well,
he's been playing
I don't trust it. I don't trust it. But they did have 5 Aatrox players. So, you know, at the end of the day, you give up 2 things. You give up the Taliyah. That part is normal. Consider the support pool has been decimated.
It has.
With these bans. So actually, Alistar is picked away, the big engaged support that Tucson likes to go for. This might actually be Gragas support from Afreeca Freecs, even though recently, Gragas jungle is the auto-lock from the jungle role.
That's exactly where it is going to go. Grace now to lock in the final pick for the first round here for Jin. Who is it going to be? Who are they going to covet moving into the draft, into the ban phase? Could just be that 80 carry here for Teddy, and then try and counterpick some options.
The Ryze, very, very powerful. It's almost certainly a mid lane Ryze. Very, very powerful in this current meta because of his abuse of runes and the fact that 1-3-1 is kind of the way Korean teams have wanted to prefer to play recently from what we've seen in the LCK.
Also an incredibly powerful duo between him and as it does look like the Taliyah will be going to the jungle.
There's a lot of things here that we're not sure about though, Atlas. Look at Afreeca Freecs. Where are these 3 champions going? We actually don't know about any of them.
And Kramer, I mean, if he's going to stick to the script, that Swain could be on the bottom side of the map very, very easily.
Swain and Vladimir are kind of the 2 awesome dudes where you're like, okay, these could definitely be in the bot lane.
Yep.
Vel'Koz's going to be banned. So Jin, because they take the Ryze at 3rd pick on the red side, I think this is actually just a result of crazy stuff like Aatrox and Taliyah being open. Because Ryze on the red side with more than 1 coverage ban is seen as pretty overpowered in Korea right now. So getting these 2 coverage bans, which is what you get when you lock in a champion 3rd pick on the red side here, is really nice as you get the Vel'Koz taken away. Kuro staple, 3 MVPs on this pick already, as OGN was showing us in the pregame. They're going to also relieve some further pressure by taking out the Camille.
Yeah, Camille going to go as well. So expecting to see that Aatrox in the mid lane, I guess, by taking that one away.
Let's wait and see. We don't have to and ah, Atlas. We can wait and see. We're going to be reserved over here. We've had no sample size of Korean Aatrox in the LCK, so unless this game is being remade, we're pretty confident we're getting some Aatrox. GP going to be banned, so that is another blind top laner taken away, but the Gnar is conspicuous by still being available. Kennen versus Gnar could certainly be a top lane matchup, but we don't know for sure that Aatrox isn't going to be roaming the top lane either.
Aatrox could be absolutely anywhere. You're exactly right. So Gnar going to be locked in, the standard Ryze Gnar combo that we've seen in days gone by, and of course recently as well. Sly grin on Keen's face, trying to read exactly whether or not he's going to be playing that Aatrox.
Are we seeing any
marksmen? We're going to figure it out now.
It's a very apt question to ask. We saw an Olaf ban against Gen G. I guess Ambition had been playing it again. This would be a jungle Olaf most likely.
And also, I mean, we've hacked down the support pool, so it does make sense that Tucson's going to go to his 100% win rate Gragas. over one game.
Yeah. I didn't need to look at my stat sheet to know that
You
was
didn't.
an hashtag Atlas stat right there.
Yep, you saw my grin.
Will Kramer play a domestic game on a marksman in a duo lane? Is a question we now will get the answer to.
2 seconds to go.
No.
No, he's not. Kennon's going to be locked in, and that means that Kennon's most likely going towards the top side of the map. We're going to have Gragas support Olaf jungle, and that's a mid lane Aatrox with the awesome dude Swain in the AD carry position as an awesome dude.
Probably no surprise that Keen hasn't been practicing that top lane Aatrox, banning it before. Jinair get to last pick a marksman. They'll be going conventional. In Korea, we see very few awesome dudes these days. Ezreal going to be locked in. Ezreal now falling down the tier list a little bit because Viper insists on picking Teemo into it, and thus headaches have been created. And the realm of the Ezreal blind pick in Korea for once is actually a bit shakeable. End up with Ezreal Alistar, an old King Zone favorite. Very standard draft from Jinair. Obviously, they have a very powerful jungler in the Talia. But I'm excited to see how much Olaf practice Spirit has recently, because obviously, if you have your ultimate, maybe you can run at that damn Talia and just mow her down where she stands.
And even when Olaf wasn't strong, I'm talking like 2 years ago, Spirit was picking him anyway over in the LPL. Spirit's been an Olaf player of old throughout his entire career. We'll see whether now, after he's taken a few extra hits to take him out of the top tier, whether it is going to work out here. Because I could imagine that you press Ragnarok and you run at a Talia, she dies.
Well,
pretty damn quickly.
I've had to use my imagination a lot about Aatrox, but now we...
Whoa, Jinair fans, voices well and truly raised. As Let's Go playoffs Afreeca Freecs. Well, they're going to have to start winning here if they want to get there.
Shout out to Andy, who is providing us translations today. No Joel today, but we have Andy. He's helping out with the signs as well. Thank you very much, Andy. Looking at the history here. Already mentioned History Making Day. First reworked Aatrox on the Rift. Also, history for Jinair. More kind than most 9th place versus top team matchups. That's a very tilting sound. Reminds me of the Super Galaxy Rumble.
Yeah,
and how you can just spam that and also blow people's eardrums. We got cowbell. Where is the cowbell, though? That would be a lovely sound.
Yeah, we're going to need that. Hey, at least it's not Robot Amumu with his global.
Robot
So
Amumu
good.
on the Rift yesterday.
It was on the Rift, yes. Well, how long? It wasn't on the Rift for very long, unfortunately.
It wasn't.
Hey, he got 2 ganks, though.
I am tilted
Nice
by
work,
everyone
bro.
who says, like, oh, Amumu's a bad pick. It now is proven by the fact that it lost. I was like, no, they were winning until they actually made wrong decisions as a team. It was actually nothing about the Amumu pick.
Inting in the bottom lane is generally not a good way to win League of Legends, as it turns out.
Well, Afreeca Freecs got to lane first. Reminder, this is Kramer in the lineup for the first time in a few weeks. Also, a bit more bookkeeping, I guess we should say, as Tucson rushes in, and you remember the Swain passive there in the first trade.
Yep, going to be able to grab himself some of his passive stacks there as well. So nicely done there from Kramer to start off this lane. Phase rush Swain on the bottom side.
Let's do our bookkeeping. It is going to be an AD on-hit cannon. Sadly, we will not be seeing AP cannon Smeb-esque in this particular game.
Yeah.
Also, bookkeeping one, patch 814, as you guys can see in the bottom left. Match 87 of 90. We'll have our 90th match, KT versus MVP, as second match tomorrow. But the other piece of bookkeeping is where the Aatrox power level is at, pretty high on patch 814. He was readjusted a little bit of power trim from the early game, but if anything, he's a bit stronger as when you get the 5 points in the E. You know, his reposition ability, cooldown gets very short as Spirit's life total is intentionally short for his jungle clear.
Yeah, making sure that he can clear as fast as possible with that passive. Glad you brought that one up, Papa. Olaf pretty bad at dying to jungle creeps early on because the more he's dying, the more he's killing at the same time. But yeah, I do like the fact that you bring it up, that Aatrox was, when he first got reworked, a complete monster in the early game. Now, his late game has been tidied up just a little bit.
Oh, he's still pretty damn OP in the early
he's
game.
busted. Yeah.
Speaking of busted, this could be bad times for Keen.
Yeah, Umti trying to find this one. Doesn't get the seismic shove, but does get a lot of damage down onto Keen regardless. There's the flash from Sohan. Should be able to follow this one up for first blood, and Jinair on the board at 3.5 minutes.
Keen goes down. The Asian Games representative is slain where he stands. Nice gank timing from the Talia. Something that is a bit of food for thought is how good Keen was until recently. Want to mention that when it comes to some of the recent picks, the Gnar, for example, 2 and 3 so far for Keen. The cannon also hasn't looked too sturdy in his hands. The recent movement to this blind cannon meta and the champions around it seems to have disproportionately hurt Afreeca Freecs and Keen more than some of the other teams. And this has actually been a recent struggle for him, is going down on some of these squishier top laners in recent memory.
Well, you can see Afreeca Freecs fighting here on the bottom side of the map as Nova going very aggressive. The Ignite actually goes down as Tucson gets the bop. We're looking for the last auto. Kramer doesn't quite... Oh! There's the never move to finish it off as Kramer burning to death, but it's not enough. Teddy looks a bit tilted here, but just needs one last auto. Oh, God, we're just going to go and have a look at the dead cow as Teddy barely makes it out alive. Okay, Vision of Empire, that was scary, but not quite scary enough as Spirit. He's got Predator, he's running after Umti, and as we were saying before, Umti takes a lot of damage, but Spirit couldn't close the gap.
I didn't even know I could hit that octave. I was so excited about the Vision of Empire. Oh boy, all right, well. The minions almost killed him. Teddy thought he could juke into the brush, but it was warded. Kramer is looking for it. The never move would have to be the start, and he decides that the minion wave is a bigger problem. Get the cannon! Oh, he got the cannon just about.
Nailed it.
The ward in the brush really helped there because he couldn't juke into the brush, and that's why he had to pull away from tanking all of the minions. A lot of action going on in the bot lane.
Yes, certainly a lot. Here to start this one off, Kramer, you have to mention as well, didn't take the teleport that Teddy now has, so he's going to have a free path back to lane. Kramer going to use the rest of his mana on this minion wave and then have to walk back. So Teddy will be able to get himself a little bit more of a lead, and he's feeling the pressure. As speaking of pressure, Keen going aggressive topside. So I'm probably not going to overextend, meaning that Spirit is slightly wasting his time.
He's not actually starting a freeze here, so it just looks like he's baiting for a gank in a play like that. Or you just rush past the minion wave. But still, So1 decides maybe safest to ward.
Gets hit by an undertow, and now Keen's able to follow up. One more auto, and Spirit's going to pick up that kill. So 2-1, now in favor of the Afreeca Freecs.
Schrodinger's bush there. Unfortunately decided to check it. That was the one you can't check. Garen was in there. In this case, Garen is Olaf. They pick up the kill. We definitely had Thrill a minute in the first 6 minutes. We have 3 kills, which by LCK standards is pretty bonkers. Pushing up in bot side, Umti's already level 5, so he is very accelerated.
He's reasonably scary at this point in time, as he's going to find himself control ward. His position now given away to the Afreeca Freecs bottom lane. As there's the never move. Nice body slam to come in as well. And remember, Umti does a lot of damage, but also doesn't take a lot. As that health bar is very, very low, as the Talia will have to move his way back.
Somehow, we haven't been watching Kuro at all. He is in a melee versus range matchup and doesn't do quite the same face roll Q damage in the early game. Still a lot. I always get surprised by the damage numbers I see.
Yeah.
The damage text is always very, very large numbers when you queue in as the Aatrox. But he's being potentially... Oh, that's not the right way.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like Umti has not been playing enough Rumble in his previous years. Didn't quite get the flick in the right position. That skill shot working the same way as Rumble's equalizer.
I had a lot of fun taunting Gorilla about that. Gorilla played one game of support Talia.
Yeah.
He played actually really bad on the Talia with the W. I mean, that's the ability, right? That's the ability that you're very likely to mess up. And he's like, but I won. And I'm also the champion. And I was like, but Gorilla, you were just bad. Let's be real. And he was like, yeah, that's true. So it's good to have relations with pro players where you don't have to pretend they're good at everything. Spoilers, everyone's bad at something.
Yes. And look, sometimes when it's mid laners turn junglers, a support isn't necessarily the best example of finesse. On the particular champion is Spirit. Speaking of finesse, he's going to take away the blue buff here on the bottom side. The Olaf, having run of the jungle so far this game.
He's level 6. He's got his Predator available. And like we were kind of alluding to, it gets better and better for this matchup as things go on.
Oh,
because
hell yeah.
if you can run it, Umti, and not just straight up die, you will kill him. The chase potential crazy. Spirit, speaking of chase potential.
It hasn't actually been seen yet as Teddy completely out of mana. Umti's going to be able to stop the back, but God, look at the burst damage from the Olaf. The Ragnarok buffing that one up. Tucson's got himself a stopwatch, and he's going to be okay. The cow unable to get the work done as Demonic Ascension's in for Kramer. The burst damage is huge. They wanted to get the kill over to Kuro, but they couldn't get there. It's just the undertow to finish it off, and Spirit continues the onslaught.
Kuro didn't even have to flash to get the kill. Like you mentioned, an orbital nuke worth of damage from Spirit on the turret dive on this Olaf. We saw the Olaf ban. Well, that's surprising, but it's an old ambition favorite. We're seeing it here into the Talia, and it seems like it was all calculated in the draft by Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, getting the best out of that trade, most definitely. Even on CS in the mid lane as well is Kuro, given that ranged to melee disadvantage that he has. It's certainly good news. Afreeca Freecs set up here in this game so far, close to a 2,000 gold lead at 9 minutes in. And we were talking about 3,500 gold leads yesterday being fantastic for KT. We're already heading there for Afreeca, even when Jin got the first blood.
Well, the Weaver's Wall is up, and Umti can still be pretty oppressive on this Taliyah, so we'll see if he finds a timing for that.
Oh, really nice true shot barrage for the scouting as well. Shows that this blue buff can be stolen by Jin. It is going to be a steal trade, but certainly good to get something back here for the Jin Green Wings.
If the Gnar gets rolling in the Kennen matchup, remember they will have very good split push here with the Gnar and Ryze. But right now, the Kennen doing very comfortable in lane. This is all scouted by the side of Afreeca Freecs. They don't get any advantages around it, and we just remain to fully understand this Aatrox power level. We've all seen the best and worst of Aatrox, I'm sure, in solo queue and a smattering of Aatrox in pro games, but first time in Korea. So far, just a farm fest for Kuro.
And he does take a bit of finesse now as well. Making sure that you get the Deathbringer stance in there each reset as well is important. He does find himself the Infernal Chains. It's a good boot back coming in from Umti. Just gets flashed on for all of the damage. Keen's able to pick that one up. Cool guys don't look at explosions as good God. Yes, he does. A lot of damage.
Kuro just got his kill KS for sure, as in the mid lane. Tucson walks up.
Oh, nice
the
dodge.
dance
Fancy
moves.
footwork there, but Kuro, yeah, he's still Aatrox. Doesn't quite have the ultimate, remember, so can't dive underneath this turret very easily, and he's down to 300 health.
Well, the damage numbers were big. The KS was pretty severe by Keen, actually. I guess he needs it for the matchup. I hope he called for it rather than just stole it away.
I imagine that that's probably the case, because it is a much more volatile matchup, and it was Kuro that got the overpowered busted champion this game, so he's already having a good time as Grace doing some damage here, but gonna land the Q is Kuro, and Grace has to spend some time moving out of the Infernal Chains.
I'd like some replays of the damage numbers to note how much Longsword Merc Treads does on the good old Aatrox.
That classic only longsword worth of damage items and still absolutely pulverizes a Taliyah.
Why do all of his Qs do so much damage?
All of his buttons seem to just do way too much damage.
Why he doesn't do any damage?
It buffs your damage, though.
It sets up your damage.
Yeah. It makes you do more damage without doing damage.
Well, that ward doesn't do any damage, but is getting a lot of value for the side of Afreeca Freecs. Deep vision on the Taliyah. Potential scouting path for the Olaf. In the bot lane, they're still trading.
Yeah. Body Slam going to land. Is Kramer not going to get the pullback, but Nova taking some considerable damage here. Not having to use the ultimate, but getting the tank on the bottom side that likes to engage down low is fantastic for staying safe in a lane like this.
Kuro still going to be going for the same item path that we saw at Rift Rivals on the Aatrox. I think a lot of people know Black Cleaver, 40% CDR, and then from there it's kind of situational. Death's Dance is a really nice one.
Saw that as a second item after the rework. A lot of the time was the most successful over at Rift Rivals. For the Asian region, of course.
Who rolls their fingers over the keyboard more, Ryze or Aatrox? Maybe we'll find out now.
I don't know, but Kuro doesn't have the flash, so can't actually get in there. Wishes he has his old E in order to get over there, but doesn't. Dark Flight, an ability name that I don't need to remember, but I do.
Spirit and Tucson just going to back away. We've been denied an extended trade with the Aatrox. When I remember Aatrox trades, it's one person takes 900 damage, the other person takes 0 damage, so I want to see if that's still to script.
Kuro's going to move back, does have that passive available. Let's see, switching things up now, putting his sword back in its holster. That's not what you call it, Max. That's
Why does the first Q do that much damage?
It's silly. I mean, most of the Qs do.
No, I get if the third one does a lot of damage. Why does the first one do a lot of damage?
If you land it in the sweet spot, don't they all do the same amount of damage?
I think it scales up for the last one.
Which I think is probably silly.
Look, he just does a lot of damage.
He does.
You don't really need to read the patch notes when it's Aatrox. You're just like, he does similar bonkers damage. Turns out 20% nerf of a bajillion is still a lot.
It's still a large portion of a bajillion. Well, there's a Mega Knight waiting in the brush. He's not going to be like that for too much longer. Jumps forward. There's the ultimate to come down. Slicing Maelstrom from Keen to try and get enough to keep himself alive here. Blade of the Ruin King is good as he has to flash to get out of the way to Zumti, but they do manage to lock down that kill in the 2v1. Afreeca Freecs immediately capitalizing by grabbing the first Drake of the game on the bottom side.
Not quite able to get the 1-for-1, but Keen, of course, no AP cannon, so wasn't going to explode anyone. The lifesteal meant he almost trades his life. He was so close to being able to pull off that play, but it's in service of a Drake being taken on the bot side.
Yeah, nicely done. Some good trades in the mid lane as well from Kuro afterwards, but he's down about 20 CS. Nice work from Grace to capitalize on where he's up to on his rise, able to clear out minion waves very, very quickly and effectively. Kuro now just getting his push on over and over again. They already managed to get a fair bit of damage on this outer turret in the mid lane, and Afreeca Freecs wanting to to stop this laning phase, utilize their awesome dudes, move around the map.
It's a really nice rotational play here. The teleport used very early by Grace. Couldn't even get fully topped up, but I think Jin want to fight.
They do. Oh, that body slam was so good from Tucson to deny Nova entirely on the headbutt.
Nicely played. The peel from Tucson. Remember, there were 6 supports banned if you're joining us late. That's why we're getting to the dregs of the support champion pool. Aatrox's first pick into the Talia Alistair on the red side to take away a 7th support. So Tucson has had to go to his extended bench. Finds the Gragas after being out of the meta for so long. Kramer comes back in, still on the awesome dudes, and, well, we got an Aatrox, so we get to see some cool damage.
Yeah, Grace, that spell flux not quite doing enough to answer back that trade as Kuro hit one ability.
The reason why we see so much Rise, because of the ability to go the Dark Seal, the Corrupting Potion, the Biscuiteer, is Teddy.
Oh, special delivery! That's a very dead Ezreal. Now Grace actually trying to go toe-to-toe here with Kuro. Remember, he's sitting on the ultimate, so not going to be dying anytime soon, but wanting to get that button out of him is certainly what Grace was intending there. But Afreeca Freecs are just grabbing this game by the horns, taking down Jin. Even their star player in Teddy could not do anything against the awesome dude and Gragas on the bottom side of the map.
I think we were all surprised by the damage range there from Afreeca Freecs, but they were able to take him down. Grace will find it hard to sustain through a bad matchup when it does as much burst and 100-0 potential as the Aatrox. So it's a little bit more tricky for Rise in some other matchups, but he's up 25 CS. Not been too much jungle attention in the mid lane. Jin roaming top side, but no Rift Heralds claimed by either side.
Yeah, they tried to take it, but then they watched it. Oh god, there's another flash as Kuro did want the kill, but his Ignite's not going to be doing enough here. Ragnarok comes down from Spirit to make sure that he's not going to get booped back by Umpty, but he's still going to have to run away. Nova able to actually get him out of there, but it's not enough. Tucson picks up the kill onto the jungler, and now the cow has nowhere to go. This paddock is looking way too big as the Infernal Chains come in. The Umbral dash to chase, and Kuro's going to be able to finally grab his kill. 8-2 now for the Afreeca Freecs.
They've been ahead of the play a couple of times at the important moment, Atlas. One person will walk up. They will get the turret here as well. Even if Teddy tries to ult down the wave, it isn't going to matter. There's actually already 4 stacks on the Rod of Ages, so a nice early purchase from the Swain. And you have to go back to old analysis here and remember that the awesome dudes were preferred to the likes of Ezreal and some of the other champions because they have the ability to impact team fights running, initiate early in the game before marksmen truly get their cores down. A lot of this game has been decided before even Ezreal, the earliest spiking AD carry, can get 2 items.
And our Kramer's bought spooky ghosts as well. That's awesome. I love that, you know, if you manage to catch anyone out with your spooky ghosts, you almost get a guaranteed hit on your Vision of Empire, which has ludicrous range. There is synergy there, Papa.
You know, I'm always a bit quizzical because in...
Oh, and then maybe you could stack up Phase Rush with it as well.
Well, in the LMS, Kramer also went Wits End Lucian back in the day, so I'm always a bit quizzical when he's the one who's bringing in the build innovation.
Yeah, maybe we need to ask Genja whether it is actually a worthwhile build choice. But Afreeca Freecs do lose a tower on the bottom side of the map. First one for Jin is able to be taken down. That is Teddy's lane as well, so they can now rotate their Ezreal to wherever else they want him. And it's going to give Keen some spare time, and there's not going to be a lot that Sohan can do to stop this tower from going down with a full cannon wave in a bit.
Yeah, he's the one benefiting Atlas from all the disarray. He was getting hard camped earlier in the game to the benefit of Jin, but since then, he's on a longer leash because there is multiple members having to rotate between mid and bot lane. It's going the way of Afreeca. Rift Herald available. The outer turrets in mid and bot are already cracked down, so probably don't want to bother with a 200 health turret in top side. Let's see what Afreeca Freecs' plan is for this Rift Herald.
Well, it's going to just be chucked into the jungle here. Looks like the bottom inner turret will be the next place for the Afreeca Freecs to go. Spirit has an adaptive helm already. Good God, there is nothing that Umpty can do to him. And Teddy's also going to struggle as Shelly just going to bop down this turret very, very low off the first charge, and Afreeca will be able to follow it up. So 3 turrets already, 18.5 minutes into the game. This feels like vintage Afreeca Freecs Game 1 from last year.
And this feels like vintage Tucson from Spring Season Atlas because he absorbed 7 bans and they crushed bot lane. They're winning this game around Ezreal and the bot lane.
You have to remember as well, the Alistar was picked away from them, which is definitely Tucson's most played as well.
And that's why I said 7 bans, because it's 6 bans and also a takeaway pick. And they're able to crush bot lane and win through bot lane in spite of that. That is the impressive thing here. For Afreeca Freecs, you might think it's the Aatrox. Nope, that's been boring. Kane has done decently, but been camped on the top side. Spirit's had a very good game and may, in fact, win the MVP. But my eyes are trained on the bot lane because this isn't a result that Jin Air categorically tried to force against the Afreeca Freecs and is going Afreeca's way.
Yeah, and wherever Tucson has been, it has been a success story for the Afreeca Freecs. There has not been any misplay from this guy. I mean, one cask was missed because Grace's passive gives him so much damn movement speed when paired with the phase rush. But otherwise, it's been flawless. And being able to lock down an Ezreal when you've got the damage backup of a Swain seems ludicrous to me.
Well, how do you feel about 9 control wards, 1 just placed for Afreeca Freecs? They are ready to take a Baron. Gonna also move away Jin Air, and actually the poke will find Umti in the brush. They're trying to be sneaky. But when you see 9 control wards bought, it must be Baron time for the Afreeca Freecs, and Jin Air would desperately love a 2-item Ezreal before the game is over.
Well, I think he might be able to do it, Papa. That's what, 1,500 gold?
And yet, we have to use the word might about the champion that always finds 2.5 items.
Yeah. At least he does have his transformation already here at 20 minutes into the game, even though he went Sheen first. But that's it's about the only good news that we can really talk about here. Jin Air did find their first blood. They did know what they wanted to do, but this man on your screen right here got way too far ahead, and the gentleman that's joining him, that's a bit portly, has been also an absolute joy to watch. It's Jin Air looking for something here. Vision of Empire is going to be thrown down as Sohan thinks that he's caught Spirit. He hasn't.
We'll get the Predator out defensively, and that does breathe a sigh of relief for Umti in particular. First item here, you already mentioned it earlier, the Adaptive Helm is fantastic against Taliyah Ryze.
Yeah.
And whether it's a 1-3-1 Ryze that the Olaf is chasing down or just finding Taliyah in her jungle while contesting Vision around the Baron. That is why the item rush came in, so anything to reduce the pressure onto Taliyah is good news for Umti. Speaking of reducing pressure, turret does come in for Jin Air, trying to find any standing gold they can. The game hasn't ballooned in terms of gold lead, but it certainly feels one-sided to Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, it has been good of Jin Air to continue actually pressuring these outer turrets. So being able to grab the bottom and top without being overwhelmed entirely by Afreeca that has looked on the warpath for the moment. Been important for them trying to get to that 2-item spike that you're talking about, and they have actually done it. Teddy, Lucidity Boots built up as well, so it looks like it's not going to be double tier. Let's come in for this gentleman. Teddy wanting to get as much power as quickly as possible, and it's going to be difficult. See what he's going to be able to do. I believe the Rune King probably going to be the next choice. Seraph's also going to get the transformation there on the side of Grace, and 2 items have come in for Sohan. So looking at Jin Air, they have hit some relative item spikes.
Double Ocean here for the Afreeca Freecs. First Drake taken quite late, around the 16-minute mark. Means that the Double Ocean still feels bad at 22, but obviously when it's the first 2 spawns, that's the most welcome. Infernal on the menu for 28, but will this game still be in the balance at 28 minutes? We feel like we're 1 teamfight away from Afreeca Freecs just being kind of done with this game.
Yeah.
But until we see that, until the stabilization is over, not 100% sure, and Jin Air are still trying to play pretty robust League of Legends. They are warding their flanks. They're trying to minimize the value out of the Aatrox. So waiting to see if there's a twist and turn left in this game number 1.
Still, 10 control wards in the inventory of the Afreeca Freecs. So they're wanting to go back and wrestle some vision back around that Baron area, but you can see they're not exactly able to get deep vision. There's still spot vision available for Jin Air around the area, so it's nicely done from them to try and keep at least a relative amount of control over this map, despite the fact that everything seems to be on fire.
And also the Jin Air draft, despite the fact that it's losing, is probably seen as the god tier draft in Korea. I think if we still had blind pick, we'd see comps pretty similar to Jin Air's. Maybe Alistar wouldn't be this high priority. Maybe Ashe instead of Ezreal also, but apart from that, the 1-3-1 drafts and also the fact that Gnar Rise are different damage types makes it so hard to deal with Gnar Rise when they're ahead, and Ezreal usually will get out of lane with an advantage. That didn't happen this game. Afreeca have outplayed Jin Air, but there's still a lot of strength in the draft in the 1-3-1. Just not sure that Jin Air will ever be able to actually enact a 1-3-1 when they have a vision disadvantage.
This is also a draft from the Afreeca Freecs that wanted to be ahead early. I mean, this team comp did want that because they don't have themselves a regular AD carry. I guess you could say Kayn is almost one as the on-hit cannon, but otherwise, they probably wanted to get themselves a lead early and then utilize that lead to siege turrets instead of utilize their comp, because their comp doesn't do it very well.
And the strength of the Jin Air comp is also seen in Kayn, who couldn't go Wit's End, right? Wit's End would be amazing in this game against the Rise that he found himself split pushing against pretty reliably. He's not going to get the man he wants that reliably because there's 3 teleports on the side of Jin Air. He can't go Wit's End into Gnar. That's been the struggle there as Nova.
Yep, Fertile Chains is going to pull him back. Unbreakable Will needs to be invested here as the Aatrox going ballistic, but taking a lot of damage from Umti, who's able to throw in a lot of threaded volleys. Finally, the flash is going to lock down the kill onto the cows. Umti has to get out with the Blast Cone. Kramer desperate to make his way into this fight as well as he's procced the Ghost, but Jin Air are going to be able to back away and only lose 1. And Kuro invests everything to grab the kill.
Aatrox doing so much damage. First time we've seen him have chase pressure and not be stuck in mid lane. And someone able to take down Nova, but as we can see, we have to fall back to some old analysis, Atlas. You were mentioning the lack of marksman. That means the Baron take is a lot slower, and that means that 1 pick into Baron is basically unlikely to be enough. There's going to be spot vision, there's going to be a lack of speed. But now at least, the spot vision is confirmed. They have the Weaver's Wall also to check it to Jin Air Green Wings.
Well, Jin Air are just going to be taking the red buff here, not going to continue on the Baron buff. Are the Afreeca Freecs, understanding that Jungler is very, very close by in Umti. So I'm not going to be able to steal away the red buff as well from his own side of the jungle, which is bad news. Teddy already had one though, so he's probably happy. Morellonomicon done here for Grace, that's great. Teddy has decided to go with the tier, which I find interesting because he's going to have 50% CDR. Hopefully he took Transcendence. Does have the sorcery tree. There's Grace. There's a Blast Cone of Death as immediately the flash comes in, and Keen's going to be able to help lock this one down. Kramer comes down. I don't know whether the ult was entirely necessary, but that's a very dead Rise.
He just wanted to throw his hands up in the air and celebrate, Atlas. He's like, yes!
It's like the Maokai of, just clap his hands. Let's do it.
We got party casts, we got party celebrations from Swain.
The bottom lane's all about the parties, I think, in this particular game. But Afreeca Freecs able to lock down the kill very easily. Jin Air Green Wings getting stretched a little bit too thin, and Grace can't step too far forward as Umti going 1v1 versus Keen. Doesn't get the second threaded volley, but does do a lot of damage. But seeing the jungle at bottom side of the map means that the Afreeca Freecs have decided that the Baron is going to be theirs. So on with a very good Narbar wants to disrupt, but I don't know what he can do actually against these 3 members of the Afreeca Freecs.
Weaver's Wall is up. This is taking a long time, as we can see from Afreeca.
Yep, good never move to come in from Kramer, but with Mega Gnar, they do need to respect what Jin Air can do as far as engage, and Teddy misses all of his buttons. Grace making his way back has teleport, and that's why the Afreeca Freecs do back away.
We've definitely had games as recently as yesterday when we had one of the best Baron speed and secure comps ever, the one that Kennen ended up murdering in the KT versus Hanwha Life series. This might actually be the most lopsided bad Baron comp versus good checking comp, because on the side of Afreeca, your Baron damage, yes, Kennen could be there, but he's realistically going to be in a side lane, split pushing. Your best Baron taker is what? Aatrox, I guess, which isn't fantastic. By the way, it seems like there's some game issues around connection going on. Meanwhile, think of all the spot checks on the enemy team. You have the Weaver's Wall to check. You have the Realm Warp to check. There's so many different ways to check the Baron against a slow speed team. You can't really bait Jin Air into a bad position around the Baron if you're Afreeca Freecs.
We'll see whether they can actually get any dives happening, though, because the new Aatrox certainly can just decide to take turret aggro and never die. So they can get themselves underneath the turret, disrupt, get some kills. It's Kramer and Spirit guys that do have the issues here with overly high ping, I believe it was.
Always concerning to hear that, so hopefully we can get that finished very soon and get back into this game. This game is extending out, Atlas. This game is looked bang on about 10 minutes ago for an Afreeca Freecs Game 1 victory, especially after things started rolling, but Jin Air stabilized well. And again, when we do analysis on games like this, we're always going to be biased towards recent results.
Yeah.
And you forget, wait, there's no marksman here. We're back to the no marksman that hasn't been a thing in the last, let's say, 2 weeks in Korea. You're reminded that taking the Baron, taking anything other than the easy objectives, and they were able to crack a hard objective with the Rift Herald used on the 4th turret of the game. After that 4 turrets went down, it's actually been a really good game from Jin Air to stabilize and try to find 3 or 4 items on the Ezreal.
We are back into the game, guys. I want to back up your point as well with the fact that Teddy, he noticed this. He knew that he had free reign to try and scale in this one, and he's decided to go with the double tier for the extra damage. Does have his Archangel staff now completed, so he's got probably way too much CDR, given the Lucidity boots, but just wants to have him. Wanted to have the early cooldown reduction. You can't really fault him because he's about 40 CS in the lead. Yes, he's 0-2-0, but he's got Kleptomancy. This guy's got a hell of a lot of money.
Maybe after the game we can inquire as to whether there was the Transcendence you mentioned earlier, Atlas. Usually there isn't. Usually there's too much of a cost to take Transcendence. But waiting here, I imagine he has Gathering Storm something, as he definitely doesn't have that Cannon Minion. Oops. Cannon minions are not dying recently, Atlas.
They're not. It has certainly been a lot of tilting time. Here is Tucson, wants to find Grace. We'll get him with the body slam. His Spirit is going to find the undertow there as well. Another party cast, but I have a feeling Grace is still in trouble. The flash body slam onto both members as Infernal Chains is going to be followed up on. Kuro's grabs that one, and now Teddy needs to be missed by all of these buttons that Kuro has. Umbral Dash gets himself over the wall there as well. As Afreeca Freecs, they do manage to grab the 1 kill, but Teddy's still fighting back against Tucson, who can't hang around.
Chunked out 2.5 people here, so because of that, Afreeca Freecs probably not going to take that Baron like we mentioned. It's going to be a free Infernal. Turns out Rageblade Blade the Ruin King will do this one very quickly. Another objective, another little skirmish goes the way of Afreeca, but it still doesn't decide the game.
Well, Kuro almost able to steal away the blue buff there as well. Not exactly the most fantastic buff for him, although he does love the cooldown reduction, but Umti being able to lock that one up for the Talia is great news. He's got his Zhonya's, as well as Kramer. Now building towards his death cap. The Swain, very, very strong at this point. Only 1, 0, and 4, but still close to 4 items.
Enemy team is pretty slippery, so no guarantees a huge Demon Flare is going to rip through Jin Air, and even the Qs from Kuro are going to have to be repositioned pretty extensively to get near the sweet spot. Trying to come back and get the vision back that they lost, taking the Infernal Drake. Keen clears out the minion wave. The Wit's End finally their 3rd item onto the Gnar, so now he can take the Rise much more comfortably in the side lane. Will it be a battle of side lanes, though? Usually at this point, if we have a Shen support, it's all about the piggyback gank plays. Still possible with the Talia to chase in and then use the Weaver's Wall to regroup with the team.
Yeah, and we talk about compositions a lot based on like what we like, what we don't like, what they're good at, what they're not good at. We're going to start a Baron once again on the side of the Afreeca Freecs. It is not necessarily what this comp is good at, but Jin Air, they have so much flexibility. True Shot Barrage is going to check the pit as Jin Air are in a great position to try and grab it, but nope, the party cast comes down again. This time it's true. And Umti, with no flash, no blast cone, couldn't get over there, and the Baron easily over to the Afreeca Freecs, and they needed this because Jin Air's comp is very flexible. Afreeca Freecs, they needed to win a fight roundabout now, and they just did by taking the Baron.
It's really nicely done by Tucson that time. Missed a couple of casts with the dance moves from Grace, but this is all about gatekeeping them from the pit. Very nicely done. No smite in range. Umti didn't have flash, so didn't have time after he was cast away to even set up with the Weaver's Wall. Could have used the Weaver's Wall earlier to check, and Rise also had his blue trinket available. But Afreeca Freecs do take the Baron that have frustrated them for the last 5 to 7 minutes.
And now what can they do to actually lock this game down? The split push to come in from Keen is certainly going to be one of those answers. Grace is up here, though, to try and take down the cannon. They spot him in lane, but Tucson, he's prowling around the area. Vision defensively for Jin Air around the topside jungle is certainly good. As you can see the Afreeca Freecs vision right now. Spots the fact that both of the solo laners are on the top side. Kuro, he's split pushing on the bottom. The 1-3-1 has been heavily enacted. Now the 3 in the mid lane are going to be facing off against 2. So it looks like this inner turret should be the first to go down on the side of the Afreeca Freecs. 2.5 minutes close to that Baron. Closer to 2 as Kramer just takes a True Shot Barrage.
Loving the scouting vision from Afreeca, also seeing some of the map movements. Again, we've mentioned that in Korea the game has become heavily 1-3-1, so wards between brush rather than in brush have gone up in value. Saw that very amusing moment in KT vs Hanwha Live where the party brush was enacted and scouted out by a nice ward behind the Drake pit. Here, anything to spot people rotating between mid and top lane is a very high value to Afreeca Freecs, and now they're going very, very brashly aggressive to allow Keen free time on this top lane in a turret.
Yeah, and their ability to move between lanes as well is absolutely fantastic now that they cleared out the vision that Jin Air had here on this top side. So in a turret, very, very free, now able to move back down towards the bottom side, and it looks like that one will be the next one to fall as So1 has to answer this lane. And all the while, you've got Kuro pushing and pushing, and the Siege Minion, in fact, able to take down the inhibitor turret. So base broken already, and that is so important for this composition.
Very hard for Rise to contest him. He's about an item completion ahead. The Guardian Angel been there for a little while now. On to Kuro. As they lose an inhibitor turret. Keen still pushing the top side. This is where Jin Air should really feel the game slipping away. 10,000 gold lead to Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, a minute left on that Baron buff as well, so wanting to break the base in a couple of different positions as they've got pressure in all three lanes. Kramer doesn't land the Never move, but Umti's going to take a lot of damage from that Vision of Empire. At least they're able to clear out the Siege Minion, and Jin Air have kept their inhibitors alive for now. So that's about the end of the good news that we have to talk about this Jin Air squad. Spirit able to take the short way through, and it looks like they should just take down this inhibitor as the first one off the rank.
Baron buff still available. A lot of threat just from melee champions, and also if you draw an extra member bot side, Cannon with Baron and a full offensive build can push faster in the top side, get the bot lane inhibitor.
Well, that is Spirit trying to get out. Headbutt Pole comes in from Nova, but not really going to get too much more than a health bar out of Spirit. Teddy's still able to poke in as Keen uses the Lightning Rush to get the extra attack speed. You can see stacking up the Rage Blade as well. So much damage on this turret, and able to actually lock that one down.
2.3 attack speed when he emerges from the Lightning Rush as well. Well and truly close to capped is Keen. Press the attack, the rune, which is very common onto these on-hit cannons, so even more value out of the Ginsu Rage passive, Wit's End, and Blade of the Ruin King on-hit interaction. I'm struck by how much jargon there was in that sentence,
yeah,
but somehow our LCK viewers understand what I'm talking about.
You'd hope, and you did just explain it. So certainly is something that Cannon's good at. On-hitting. He on-hits good. He also gets hit by Seismic Shoves, pretty good, and avoids a lot of damage with the Lightning Rush, pretty good as well. As, yeah, they don't really want to go up against Kuro, who's got two ways to stay alive. Guardian Angel complete, as well as the World Ender's availability.
I prefer to call it the Game Ender. When he pops it, the game usually ends shortly afterwards.
Hey, but he popped it before, and the game's still going.
And yet, it seems to be in service of the game ending with an Afreeca Freecs victory.
It is very close to a 10,000 gold lead, so I understand your point entirely.
Even though the mid lane was pretty non-interactive, in the 1-3-1 game that we again are alluding to as the go-to in Korea, turns out Aatrox's pretty good in the 1-3-1, and that is a pretty impressive Baron buff power play. They got 4 turrets before the Baron went down, might have even been 5, and yet still found a 4,000 gold plus Baron power play.
Yeah, the old 4,400 ain't bad. As our Grace has to clear out super creeps on the bottom side of the map. A little bit too much pressure here onto Jin Air, who wanted to use their composition in more of a front-to-back fashion. One thing I was going to talk about before Afreeca just stole away a Baron was the fact that the flexibility of Gnar Rise is so incredibly good. As once again, I can't talk about it, as a Gnar into the wall. He's going to come down on top of Kramer, gets boot back as well. True Shot Barrage comes in, but he's just so tanky. Realm Warp comes over the top. Demon Flare is a fair bit of damage, and he did press all of his buttons as now Keen throws in the ult. He thinks that he's AP Cannon, and it seems to be working out as well. It's a double kill already. Make that a triple. Nova's going to go down. Quadra kill is denied by Spirit, and Umti's running away from the Cannon, who just wants to take down the base. Oh man, what a scumbag. Spirit denying the Quadra, and Umti running away to deny the Penta. But I feel like it's still going to be the game-winning play.
Scumbag Spirit's the kind of alliteration I can get behind. Umti says, this is what happens when I leave Aatrox open. Keen gonna end the game around that Nexus. Afreeca Freecs, it took about 36.5, but they've finally done.
2 days in a row where Cannon has looked incredibly strong in late-game team fights, but Keen does it with an on-hit Cannon instead. Smeb looking on saying, that's not how you're supposed to do that. That's not how that play is supposed to work. It's supposed to be the ultimate doing the damage, but nope, it was his order.